What up, everyone? It is May 1st. I spent some time this morning kind of digging through the numbers, trying to figure out what does this mean. And so I think today what I'm going to do is, instead of giving you the spreadsheet numbers, which I've done for the last few months, I'm actually going to just read the takeaways that I learned through having AI, my business assistant, analyze my numbers. And this is actually more helpful for me to understand how I've landed and the choices I made to get here. Before I do dive into that, I do want to say I've been tracking subscribers on the YouTube channel. Last month, I was around 27 subscribers, and now I'm at 31. This channel has been very, very helpful for myself to locally process, have my scroll brain moments with you guys, like opening, all the planes yesterday, and digging into things that I find that aren't exactly plush. And yeah, it's just been very helpful for my growth, I think, for this year. And that I don't think can be measured on a spreadsheet. Okay, so let's talk about what we learned about April. So I think I'm going to just dub it the recalibration month because I purposefully cut the store in half. I went from 902 listings in March to 463 listings in April. And that was me cutting out the lower performing categories like books and pens. No regrets. I'm so glad that those chapters have closed. I think this year, a lesson underneath all of this current is just me being more intentional about where I'm spending my time. Like, it's really important for me to start aligning everything and move forward with opportunities that are closer in line to where I want to go. Just as it takes a while to have the sales catch up in the future, I think the same thing happens when it comes to intention. I can be working towards something for quite a while with the knowing that I am happier and less stressed, but it might take a few months to really see the fruits of my labor. March, I was selling about 4 a day on average. April is selling about 3 a day. So one could think like, oh, the ship is sinking. But because of all of these intentional choices, I think it's more so just me recalibrating. When I talked about this with AI, they were like, we agree. You are editing your store and you're no longer babysitting inventory that wasn't earning its shelf space. And I was like, that's such a good way to look at it. Takeaway 2, the high ASP trade-off. So this wasn't a conversation I had with my coach, but it was one that he had with somebody else a few years ago. Remember I told you I was watching replays. And that guy it sounded like a similar trajectory that I'm currently working on. And in that conversation, I learned that when you have high ASP and fast moving items, you're basically driving a sports car instead of a freight train. So it's actually harder to predict where your store is going to be, because if you're projecting based off of, let's say, a 2,000 item store, a few weeks from now, you might only have a 1,500 item store. So your projections are like automatically off. Also, in the model I'm currently in, there's going to be high swings of up and down. So the growth is going to be really attributed to store size, not just items converting, which is why my sales went down this month, right? Because I had less in the store. The pros, though, is that it will be easy to move the model because I have less listings. I have higher margins, and I actually am carrying a lot less quote unquote dead weight. So again, as I move forward, I already told you guys I'm focused on sell-through. That will help some of this. And yeah, I just want to create a schedule loosely. Of course, we've learned my schedule making abilities is tough with all of my other levers, but I want to find a way to still have the time to source and not be in a rush. All right, so this leads into my third takeaway, the rover revolution. So what changed in April? I intentionally cut down the amount of families I was accepting for the month. So in March, I only had 4 days free, and like all of the days I was sourcing. It's also really hard on my nervous system because every dog has a different schedule. So I was waking up at different times, feeding, walking. It was just a cluster. So in April, I just found people that needed longer stays, and then they just needed every other week. So immediately I felt the difference there. And I actually really enjoyed my weeks where I had nobody. It felt like I was like a free bird. Like, oh, I can wake up whenever, just like la-di-da throughout life. I think April, a bit of a transition. I did end up accepting that house sitting gig, which was spread across 2 weeks. And so that did cut into my quote unquote free time that I had set aside for sourcing. The big takeaway for April, though, in cutting down the dog sitting schedule is that I actually was able to have more sleep, at least more regular sleep. I also felt like I had more capacity. Like in March, I didn't want to talk to people because I didn't want to deal with their BS. In April, I was like open to listening to more BS, but again, not letting it affect me. So I did start, seeing friends again, meeting up, doing fun things, went to a play by myself, more capacity. I also started eating regular food. So I was like super on convenience food, like every day. Every night I had chicken nuggets and fries at like 8:30 p.m. Didn't get tired of it, but obviously that's not really ideal long term. So this month I started eating things that are green, started having water instead of just coffee. Tea did sneak in there. I guess some of the teas have more sugar, so maybe it's similar to drinking soda, but more water is getting in there somehow. And then, yeah, I think I also just had better mental bandwidth, which as somebody who's building 2 businesses at the same time, like having spoons is something I actually need to sustain myself. Okay, so the great news is in April, on the weeks I had free, I was able to meet a few different families that just so happened to want A, longer stays, like a week or 5 days, and B, happened to request dates that were every other week. So I went ahead and manually blocked my calendar in Rover for all of the weeks in between. So I'm actually booked for the next like 8 weeks with some longer stays every other week, and then I'll have free time in the middle to try and get enough stock for the future week that the dog is here. Hopefully you're following. But yeah, blocking off the days like right away is just going to help my mental health, I think, and protect my energy. So AI pointed out that in doing this, I am pivoting my business a little bit, and I'm not just accepting anything and everything. I'm accepting the families that are going to blend into the life that I want to build. Oh, another light bulb moment I had, which happened kind of recently. I didn't do this for May and June because I was more focused on finding stays that were more spread apart. But I realized I could just book families with 2 dogs because then I'd make the same amount of money I made with 1 dog families booked every day for the entire month. That's the way I could go and work half the time. So those are the takeaways. And then they produced for me this really nice chart, just summarizing the changes that I made and the difference it made. This is loosely a pros and cons list, but I'm just going to read like zigzag so you can see the thoughts, how they connect. Okay, so I cut the store in half. This means I fired my underperformers. My sales dropped. But this means that I removed the low margin noise that was taking up not only physical space, but mental space. I had less Rover income, but it brought back some sanity. I was able to have some balance and like talk to people again. Like, I don't think it's healthy for just talking to dogs all day, but I digress. I blocked off my calendar on my free days. That translates into me protecting my energy. And overall, I did have smaller numbers for April, but that means that I'm working towards building a cleaner operation. I'm going to take this closing line directly from AI because I thought it was very insightful. They said, sometimes growth looks like going backwards. For April, you were clearing the deck, so that you can build something sustainable, not just survive another month. Beautiful. That is such good insight. And I think you guys tell me, but I think these sort of revelations might be better than just me reading a spreadsheet. I mean, I don't work in a spreadsheet. I barely know math. But yeah, it's better for the longevity, I think, of me doing this. Because when I first ran the numbers, AI created this very grim picture. It was honest, but it was grim. I asked them to try again with giving me some hope or showing me some differences, the causation of my decisions. Because their description of the numbers made me feel like I should quit. And I was like, I don't want to quit. I actually want to do this. And I'm in that gray area where the sales haven't caught up with the input and I'm building still. And they were like, okay, you're right. And they helped me see that, yeah, I don't need to quit. The main thing that's happening here is I need to work on sell-through. The question is, can I create a repeatable system? I'll have good sales and then I'll have dead weeks. But if I can work on creating a repeatable business, I can also create something that is more consistent, has longevity to it. I hope that means I will have less burnout because I'll have less decision fatigue. There's just a lot of benefits, I think, for creating a stable business and a stable environment. Overall, great takeaways. I'm really glad I did this translation of like, what does this mean? Because then it helps me formulate what to do moving forward. I am somebody who gets kind of stuck when I don't have a plan. So this kind of helps me see like, all right, we're just building. We're still building. We're now 4 months in. In the career world, 3 months, I believe, is your probationary period. So I like to think that I was hired and I just let go of my underperforming employees, all my stock. Oh, also, stock take, great idea. I have done a few cycles of picking now, and it is really sped things up. Like, I am so glad I did it. This system is really working nicely. Sometime in May, I'm probably going to add a shelf. I was thinking when my parents arrive, there is a wall heater here that I never use. I have just like a space heater on the floor that I just feel works better and faster. So I'm going to have them remove this thing when they're here, first week of June. They'll probably move it to their space downstairs. And then I'll be able to just build the shelves this way. So I think I'm just going to build on all the walls first before I start messing with the interior layout. And that'll extend the time I have here in the photo station. Just because I finally landed on a layout that works. Anyways, yeah, that's kind of my loose plan. Okay, I slept in this morning. Not regretting that. But I am a little bit slow on doing all the other things, which to be expected. I think that happens every time I have a really long sourcing day, followed by another sourcing day. The second one is just always so much harder to get started. So anyways, it's like almost 3. I would be out in the world by now, usually. So I need to get going. I think I'm just going to maybe eat lunch, photo my 8 items, and then go ahead and go sourcing. And then when I come home tonight, I will do my listing of the 8 and editing of this video. Yeah, and then set of dogs arrive tomorrow. And they're here for like 10 days. I actually have 4 boxes of stock. So if I magically find 6, I actually will be good for the entire time they're here. Don't know if that's going to happen, especially because it's like almost 3 and stores closed between 7 and 8, but we'll just see. Well, that's that. So I'll see you guys next week. Take care. Bye.